Hello, and welcome to Wednesday's episode of Literary Lutheran Reads the Book of Concord. We're continuing to read the solid declaration of the Formula of Concord, and today we begin Article 7, the Holy Supper. In the opinion of some people, the comments in this article should perhaps not be included in this document. We intend to explain the articles that have been drawn into controversy among the theologians of the Augsburg Confession. When the Confession was first written and presented to the Emperor at Augsburg in 1530, the sacramentarians soon withdrew entirely and separated. They presented their own confession. Still, some theologians and others who boast about the Augsburg Confession have agreed in this article with the sacramentarians during the last few years. They no longer speak secretly, but partly public. They have labored against their own conscience to force and to pervert the Augsburg Confession to make it entirely in harmony with the sacramentarian teaching in this article. We neither can nor should leave out our testimony by our confession of the divine truth in this document. We must repeat the true sense and proper understanding of Christ's words and of the Augsburg Confession on this article. We recognize this to be our duty. So far as we are able, by God's help, we shall preserve His pure doctrine also for posterity. We will faithfully warn our hearers, together with other godly Christians, against this deadly error which is entirely contrary to the divine word and the Augsburg Confession, and has been frequently condemned. Status of the controversy. The chief controversy between our teaching and that of the sacramentarians in this article. Some sacramentarians strive to use words that come as close as possible to the Augsburg Confession and the form and way of speech in our churches. They confess that in the Holy Supper Christ's body is truly received by believers. Still, when we insist that they state their meaning precisely, sincerely, and clearly, they all say this in unison. Christ's true essential body and blood is absent from the consecrated bread and wine in the Holy Supper as far as the highest heaven is from the earth. For their own words state this. We say that Christ's body and blood are as far from the signs as the earth is distant from the highest heaven. Therefore they understand this presence of Christ's body not as the presence here on earth, but only with respect to faith. In other words, our faith is reminded and excited by the visible signs, just as it is by the word preached. It elevates itself and ascends above all heavens. It receives and enjoys Christ's body, which is present there in heaven. Yes, they say they receive Christ himself together with all his benefits in a true and essential way, but nevertheless only in a spiritual way. For they hold that as the bread and wine are here on earth and not in heaven, so Christ's body is now in heaven and not on earth. So nothing else is received by the mouth in the Holy Supper than bread and wine. Originally, they asserted that the Lord's Supper is only an outward sign by which Christians are known. They held that nothing else is offered in the supper than mere bread and wine, which are bare signs, symbols of Christ's absent body. When this fiction would not stand the test, they confessed that the Lord Christ is truly present in his supper. They said he is present by the communication of attributes, that is, according to his divine nature alone, but not with his body and blood. Afterward, when they were forced by Christ's words to confess that Christ's body is present in the supper, they still understood and declared only a spiritual presence. They declared it was a partaking through faith of his power, through faith, efficacy, and benefits. For they say Christ's Spirit is everywhere and dwells here on earth. Therefore, through the Spirit, our bodies are united with Christ's body, which is in heaven. The result was that many noble people were deceived by these fine, praiseworthy words, when they asserted and boasted that they were of no other opinion than that the Lord Christ is present in his supper truly, essentially, and as a living person. They understand this according to his divine nature alone and not of his body and blood. They say his body and blood are now in heaven and nowhere else. He gives us his true body and blood with the bread and wine to eat, to partake of them spiritually through faith, but not bodily with the mouth. They understand the words of the supper, eat, this is my body, not properly as they read according to the letter, but as figurative expressions. So eating Christ's body means nothing other than believing. Body means a symbol, that is, a sign or figure of Christ's body. The body is not in the supper on earth, but only in heaven. The word is, they interpret sacramentally or in a symbolic way. They do this so so that no one may think that Christ's flesh is joined with the signs and is now present on earth in an invisible way, beyond our understanding. In other words, Christ's body is united with the bread sacramentally or symbolically. So believing, godly Christians do partake spiritually of Christ's body, which is above in heaven, just as they eat the bread with the mouth. But they are used to cursing and condemning the following as a horrible blasphemy. Christ's body is essentially present here on earth in the supper, although invisibly and in a way beyond understanding. It is received orally with the consecrated bread, even by hypocrites or those who only appear to be Christians. This has been the Literary Lutheran Reads the Book of Concord, and I wish you a blessed day.